She cooked his food every single day. She raised his children. She cleaned his house. She gave up her career for him. And when she asked him for 5,000 naira to buy herself a dress, he looked at her and said, "For what? Do you pay any bill in this house?" This is the story of Stella. And I promise you, by the time this story ends, you will never look at financial control in a relationship the same way again. Lagos, 2024. Stella Adeyemi was 29 years old, sharp, funny, confident, the kind of woman who walked into a room and made the whole atmosphere shift. She worked as a customer service officer at a bank in Victoria Island. She wore her blazer like it was made specifically for her body. Her boss called her the heartbeat of the branch. Life was not perfect, but it was hers. Then, Emeka walked in. Emeka Okonkwo came to the bank on a Wednesday afternoon to sort out a transfer issue. Fitted agbada, clean white sneakers, a wristwatch that caught the light from across the banking hall. Stella attended to him the way she attended everybody. Professional, calm, efficient. He leaned on the counter and said, "You are too calm for someone dealing with Lagos customers all day. What is your secret?" Stella smiled and said, "Customer is always right, even when they are very wrong." He laughed, a real laugh. He came back the next day, not for banking, just to say hello. 3 months later, they were dating. 6 months later, he proposed at a rooftop dinner in Eco Hotel with a ring that made her colleague Bessie scream so loud the whole restaurant turned around. 1 year later, they were married. The wedding was everything a Lagos wedding should be. I saw it be in deep burgundy and gold, a live band, 250 guests, a 5-layer cake, everybody dancing, everybody celebrating. Her mother held her face before she stepped into the car and said, "Stella, my daughter, never lose yourself inside a marriage." Stella laughed and said, "Mommy, stop, you want to spoil my makeup." They both laughed. She had no idea how much she would need those words later. The first year was good. 3-bedroom apartment in Ajah, smart TV, a gym in the estate. Emeka was a project manager at an oil and gas company. The money was comfortable. Stella kept her job. They cooked together on weekends. They argued about Netflix. They were normal, they were happy. Then she got pregnant, and everything changed quietly. Emeka sat her down one evening with a very calm, very reasonable face. He said, "Now that we are expecting, maybe you should leave the job. Focus on yourself. Focus on the baby. I make enough for both of us." It sounded loving. It sounded responsible. Stella told herself it was temporary. She would go back after the baby. She resigned. Their daughter arrived. They named her Amara. Stella gave everything to motherhood: night shifts, breastfeeding, parenting books, WhatsApp groups. But around month 4, when she finally had a moment to breathe, she noticed something had changed. She had no money. Not no money as in broke. The bills were paid. There was food. There was data on her phone. But she had no money that was hers. Everything required a conversation. Sanitary pads, hair products, a new pair of slippers. Emeka decided what was necessary and what was not. So slowly, without even realizing it, Stella stopped asking for things that were not strictly necessary. She stopped buying the face cream she liked.
She stopped getting her nails done. She stopped buying novels. Small things, quiet things, but they added up into something very heavy. She mentioned going back to work once. Emeka said, "Go back where? To be doing customer service. Stella, you are my wife. People will think I cannot take care of my family." She never mentioned it again. When her friend Ngozi called to suggest lunch, Stella asked Emeka first. He said, "What are you going to discuss with Ngozi that is so important?" She told Ngozi she was busy. When her sister was getting married and Stella wanted to contribute money for the wedding, Emeka said her husband-to-be should handle that. Stella quietly saved 5,000 naira from grocery change and sent it. She was ashamed it was so little. She told nobody how she got it. One evening, after Emeka had eaten, after Amara was in bed, after the dishes were done, Stella opened her old banking app and sat alone in the kitchen. The account was almost empty. She had not earned anything in 3 years. She stared at that screen, and she thought about the woman who used to walk into work with her blazer and her purpose, the woman every customer knew by name, the woman her boss called the heartbeat of the branch. That woman felt very far away. Then Amara came home from school with a drawing assignment. Draw your family. Write what each person does. Amara drew 3 figures: Daddy, Mommy, me. Under Daddy she wrote, goes to work. Under herself she wrote, goes to school. Under Mommy she wrote, stays at home and waits. Stella read it 3 times. Stays at home and waits. 7 years old. Children do not lie. They just describe what they see. Stella put that paper down on the kitchen counter, and something inside her that had been sleeping for a very long time slowly opened its eyes. She called her sister Ajah that night. Ajah was direct and honest and the kind of person who told you the truth even when you did not ask. Stella talked for 40 minutes. The money, the permission, the loneliness inside a full house, the way she had disappeared inside her own life. When she finished, Ajah was quiet for a moment. Then Ajah said, Stella, I have been waiting for this phone call for 2 years. Ajah did not tell her to leave. She did not tell her to stay. She said, whatever you decide about your marriage is your business, but you have forgotten who Stella is, and you need to find her before you decide anything else. Stella started with what she already had. She had always loved to cook, not just everyday cooking, the kind that made guests stop mid-conversation and say, wait, what is in this food? She found free business courses online. She studied every night after Emeka fell asleep, phone screen the only light in the room, writing notes in a small book she kept inside her Bible. She started an anonymous Instagram page. No name, no face, just pictures of her food. Within 3 weeks, 400 followers, comments asking where to order, DMs asking about delivery. Her hands were shaking as she read them. Ajah sent her 50,000 naira, no conditions, just use it well. Stella registered a business name, bought packaging, designed a logo at her phone, and launched properly. She called it Amara's Kitchen. The first order came from a woman in her church, a small get-together, 15 people. Stella barely slept the night before. She cooked, packaged, and delivered everything in neat branded containers. The woman called her that evening and said, Stella, my guests are asking for your contact, all of them. What happened? Stella sat in her car in the estate parking lot and cried.
Not from sadness, from relief, from recognition. She felt like herself again. Emeka found out 2 months later. He saw an Instagram notification on her phone. He scrolled through the page, the posts, the orders, the followers. He put the phone down and looked at her. What is this? My business. His voice went cold. You are running a business inside my house without telling me? Stella looked at him and said, Emeka, I am your wife, not your employee. I do not need to apply for permission to build something for myself. He said, I provide everything here, everything. You want for nothing. So why are you doing this? To prove you do not need me? Stella picked up Amara's school drawing from the counter and held it up. This is what our daughter wrote about me. She says I stay at home and wait. I refuse to let that be the lesson she carries into her own life. I refuse. Emeka looked at the drawing. He said nothing. The weeks after that were uncomfortable. Emeka was cold and distant. Stella kept cooking, kept delivering, kept building. She enrolled Amara in the Saturday Yoruba class Amara had been begging for, paid for it herself. She visited her mother in Ibadan for a weekend and told Emeka instead of asking him. He looked at her differently that evening, not with anger, with something closer to respect. 6 months later, Amara's Kitchen landed its first corporate catering deal, a tech company in Ikeja, 60 people, staff appreciation lunch. She rented a commercial kitchen, hired 2 young women from her neighborhood, delivered everything on time. The HR manager posted about it on LinkedIn, 2,000 new followers overnight, 60,000 naira profit in her account. She called Ajah. Ajah screamed so loud a man walking past her car looked in through the window. Emeka came home that evening and sat across from her at the kitchen table. He said, I saw what that HR person posted about your food. He paused. Then he said, Stella, I was wrong. I thought providing for you meant making every decision for you. I thought that was love. It was not. It was control. And I am sorry. Stella looked at her husband. She said, Emeka, I am not rebuilding this marriage on the same foundation. I need a partner, not a manager. And our daughter needs to see what that looks like. He nodded. Slowly, but he nodded. Today, Stella runs Amara's Kitchen from a commercial space in Lekki, a team of 7, corporate events, weddings, private dinners, featured in a food magazine, over 40,000 Instagram followers. She drives herself to work in a car she bought with her own money. Every Saturday morning, she and Amara cook together in the kitchen. Amara in her little apron, asking questions, making a mess, laughing loudly. One morning, Amara looked up and asked, Mommy, can I run this business when I grow up? Stella smiled and said, My darling, you can run this one. Last time, Amara's teacher asked the class to write what their mother does. Amara stood up and said, My mommy is a chef and a businesswoman. She built her company from her phone. She has 7 people working for her. She bought her own car, and she teaches me that a woman should always have something that belongs to her. The teacher started clapping before she even finished. There is a kind of control that never raises its voice. It does not shout, it does not threaten. It comes quietly, wrapped in provision and protection, wearing the face of a man who says, I take care of everything so you do not need to worry. And slowly, carefully, you stop being a person and start being a role. But you were somebody before you became somebody's wife. You had a name, a skill, a voice, a purpose that never needed anyone's permission. Stella's story is not about leaving your husband. It is about never leaving yourself. Because the moment your child looks at you and sees only a woman who waits, you owe it to her, to yourself and to your marriage, to stand up and remind that house who you are. Your power was never in his permission. It was always yours. Pick it up. If this story moved you, share it with one woman who needs to hear it today. Comment below and tell us what you would have done in Stella's place. And if you are new here, welcome to the family. We tell powerful modern African stories every single week. Subscribe and turn on your notifications so you never miss one.